It is, moving on to our next topic, I think this is incredibly timely. We have two members of our community here, Jazmin and Hector, with Daca hanging in the balance. Really glad that we have a chance to hear from them on immigrant rights. Welcome them.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jazmin. Thank you so much for hanging out here and staying this late. I know it's been a long event, and we really appreciate you sticking around and staying awake to hear what we have to say. So I am a member of the Greater Lafayette Immigrant Allies Group. We do a lot of stuff out in the community. One of the things that I'm going to tell you right now is I'm an immigrant. I am a Daca recipient. I've lived in the U.S. for a quarter of a century now, the majority of my life. But I'm going to focus on Daca and undocumented issues, and there's a huge range of immigrant issues that I'm not going to address today. And part of that reason is because I can't speak to the experiences of every single immigrant, right? I'm one immigrant, and mine is one story. It is not the story of all immigrants. So I'm not going to pretend to speak for everyone. I'm going to speak to kind of what I know. So Greater Lafayette Immigrant Allies has been active in a couple of different immigrants issues. And obviously at the federal level, Daca, the repeal of Daca and the DREAM Act are pretty big. So I'm assuming that most people here know Daca, but just as a refresher, Daca stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, right? So 2012 executive order established program during the Obama administration, gave people like me 2-year work permits if we met a certain number of requirements, if we were in the country for a certain amount of time before this executive order was passed, and if we passed a background check, amongst other things. Allowed us to work, gave us a social security number, and allowed us to apply for renewals of that work permit. And so what's happened since, well, this was before Trump's election, right? We were hearing a lot of things about the Republicans, people who are very anti-immigrant not being happy with Daca and wanting that to be scaled back. And then there was this threat of all these attorneys general who were saying that they were going to sue the Trump administration over Daca. The Trump administration was not willing to protect Daca, so they just said, we're going to end the program, right? And even though there's been a recent court decision that has reinstated parts of Daca, that does not mean that the Trump administration will not keep fighting that, right? So for now, they have to continue to accept renewals for people who've already received Daca in the past, but no new renewals, no what's called, and I'm blanking on the word now, no one can apply, no one with Daca can apply to leave the country under special permission. That's called advanced parole. And so, you know, it's still very restricted, so we have to keep an eye on that. Currently in the federal level, looking towards DREAM Act, what folks around the country, activist groups, were looking to do was to include a clean DREAM Act in the continuing resolution bill that would have continued funding the government. Unfortunately, our senators did not vote for, they did not push to include that. They went ahead and voted for that continuing resolution without a clean DREAM Act in there. And when I say clean DREAM Act, I mean something that's not going to throw other immigrants under the bus, something that's not overly restrictive, something that does not also leverage dreamers, people like me, to get things like increased border security, right? Unfortunately, that was not included. The government shut down as of midnight last night. And so right now I don't have any updates for you except to say that we have had people from the Greater Lafayette area and Indiana going to DC to talk to our senators and representatives. A group of us, including myself, went in October, early October, There were a group of people who who were there just a day or two ago, and a couple of folks, including one recent Purdue graduate, who was arrested doing some actions in the U.S. Capitol, so arrested by U.S. Capitol Police. Unfortunately, everyone that we know of has been released at this point. But so we will update folks through the proper venues when we get more information. At the statewide level, there are initiatives to get driver's licenses for folks who are undocumented, as well as in-state tuition. And the reason that these initiatives at the state level are being pushed for is because driver's licenses, first of all, are not just for people who are like me. I'm a relatively privileged individual as an immigrant. My parents did not even finish high school. They did not speak the language when they came to this country. I have a master's degree. English is almost like my first language now. I speak it better than I do in Spanish. I dream in English more than I do in Spanish, right? I can tell better jokes in English than I can in Spanish. So driver's licenses are meant to have a greater impact. We have laws in Indiana and all across the country where you are basically, it's a crime to drive without a driver's license, right? And so some of these in certain states, stuff like this can rack up, and if you get so many stops without a driver's license, that can turn into a felony offense, essentially. And so that can, in turn, trigger deportation, right? So it's very, very scary, and we definitely want to push for that. Also, in-state tuition for folks who, like myself, undocumented, did not come into the country with either documentation or overstayed a visa, something like that, getting in-state tuition, having access to that. Not having in-state tuition means that even at public universities such as Purdue, IUPUI, IU in Bloomington, you're paying about between 3 and 4 times as much tuition per year. So this doesn't even include room and board, cost of books, stuff like that. This is just tuition, right? And that makes higher education and therefore economic mobility out of reach for a lot of undocumented folks. So I want to end with one piece of information that you probably should walk away with from this. There's a group at the state level called IUYA. Those initials are IUYA, stands for the Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance, and they are doing amazing things all over the state. They have a strong presence in Indianapolis and South Bend, other parts of the state. And definitely look for them on Facebook. They're very active on social media. There was a lot of folks in IUYA who have been doing ally training, activist training, training on things like legislation at the state level, folks going to DC. So they're a very, very good group to support. They also do scholarships for undocumented students. So if you want to support a group, that's definitely one to keep track of. And then as well, the Greater Lafayette Immigrant Allies, right? So I'm saying that as a member. But definitely, we have a table out here in the room. I don't know if they're still out there. But if they're still out there, definitely swing by, sign up for email updates, and then we will keep you in the loop as to things develop on the federal level and the state level. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Hector, and I would like to actually correct that, and my name is Hector. I usually begin my speeches by a quote, but today is different. Today, we are all here gathered with one common purpose, and that's to resist. That's to resist the current agenda that we are living in, the agenda that has portrayed us and personally, as a person of color, as a rapist, as a drug dealer. And today I'm here to tell you that I've been labeled as that. But I've been fortunate enough that I am currently vice president for a nonprofit organization in town, serve on several other boards in town as well, and have done much community service to my hometown of Lafayette and West Lafayette. Nevertheless, it's been a very difficult ride. I was brought over again without the proper documentation when I was 8 years old. I was told we were going to go visit some family in a different state of Mexico. Soon enough, I realized that I was on a smuggler's back walking across the river. Every step of that is still in my mind. And I wouldn't be here today without the help of this loving community that has taken me in and not seen my color, but has heard my ideas and has seen the same ideas that I love this country and I want to see it grow, but I want my children to be able to play with any other children with different color, race, religion, regardless of anything. I'm here. I don't particularly represent any specific immigrant, but I am here to represent all the immigrants who are afraid to speak out. I've lost a lot of things throughout my life, and one of those has been fear. Immigrant rights is something very important. At this time and age, we're very concerned with Daca, and Daca has been something that has brought on even somebody that may not agree with immigration reform. You will hear, oh, but let's take care of the Daca students. Let's take care of the documented individuals who have gone to school, who know how to speak the language, who are educating themselves and are contributing to the community. Nevertheless, they are forgetting about that parent that made a sacrifice, that parent that walked across the desert, that parent that flew in an airplane, that overstayed the visa, that parent that left their career behind in a different country to come here and work for minimal labor wage. Those are the individuals that we don't mention, and especially in this time and age when we are so concerned with Daca. Daca has been such a bargaining chip for our current political climate, and that's due to we didn't get a deal. The government was shut down over what? Because Daca, they wanted to have a version of Daca that included a border wall, this so famous border wall that Mexico was going to pay for. We shut down the government over that. And we, as dreamers, as documented, we said if we don't have a clean Daca or DREAM Act, we don't want anything. We will not throw our families under the bus. If immigration comes to my house, the first one they should take is me. So the immigrant rights, I've been able to work in the community as a volunteer, and I've seen many workers that work factories, landscapes, restaurants, office, cleaning, that if they have an accident at work, there's no workers' comp. Why? Because they don't want to get in trouble for hiring an undocumented immigrant. So what do? They know they have no rights, they fire them on the spot. They just wash their hands like that. So today I really want to emphasize on the employers that they know what's going on. They know our immigration system is broken, yet they only pick from the side that they want to ally with because financially it benefits them. I very rarely read the online comments on articles because most of the time, if I'm in the article, they are probably saying that they should deport me or deport my family or fine me or hang me. I've seen all of it. But like I said, I've lost the fear. And if something happens to me, that's okay because I know I left speaking and speaking my mind. Now, with regards to the immigrant rights, what I saw in this comment was an individual that was complaining that factories were handing out jobs to immigrants first before American citizens. And somebody said, well, they're just hiring whoever has the skills or the experience. And they said, well, they should deport them all. And the same person said, wait, never mind, because if they deport them all, then I'm going to have to be paying over $7 for a tomato. We can't be like that. We have to respect each other. We all have rights. We all come from a descendant of immigrant. Whether you're first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation, unless you're indigenous to the land, we are all immigrants. My call to action today is very simple. My call to action today is that you recognize, or you help others recognize, that I'm an individual, that I didn't have the proper documentation to be here at one point, and I don't have it permanently currently. I'm also under the Daca program. But what this has caused is that I was brought over when I was 8, and I identified myself as Mexican American because I still conserve the Mexican culture, but I love my American culture and the American values, the true American values. So in no way, shape, or form will I ever consider myself illegal, because it is not illegal to be a human being. It is not illegal to survive. It is not illegal to seek the better future for your family. So it's something very simple, and it may be awkward because I do it all the time with my coworkers and anybody around me that comes up to me, and even though they want to understand the immigration system or how complex it may be and how broken it is, they will still use the term illegal. And there's no human being that's illegal. So, my call to action today is to very simply, you can use the term undocumented, because that is somebody that doesn't have papers. They don't have the documents to be here. But they are not illegal. Thank you very much.
You know, when we were putting this day together, one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did was have a good mixture of academic discussions and really walking through some of the issues, but also to include some of the personal stories. And I just want to thank both of you for sharing your personal stories with our community. And I know that I speak for everyone in this room and people watching on the live feed that we are here for you.